Hi, my name is Maggie Faramshi, and in this video I'll be discussing two strategies. The first strategy is number 23, communication games, opportunities for verbal interaction. Communication games are basically classroom activities that create opportunities and purposes for listening and verbal communication practice. Many times the purpose is to convey information, and typically that's done from one student to another in a game and classroom partner activity. It is used for developing and reinforcing concepts, add interest to regular activities, or as icebreakers, such as the first day of school or having an interaction with a new student, using it as an icebreaker. The first step is to identify a language function which needs practice within your students. Second is to model the game using one or more students in the demonstration. Third is to organize the pairs or small groups, making sure there's a fluent English speaker in each. The teacher has to be very structured about this and have purposeful planning. If you have a whole group of ELLs, they're not really going to get that authentic learning experience. Next is to guide around the room and support and encourage. This is also a time for teachers to assess what is happening and to hear the learning going on and to make sure that everyone is on task as well. Last is to talk about the experiences and problems and solutions. So after you're finished with the games, you'll come to the class whole group and talk about the problems that some of the students may have and whether it worked or not and some of the solutions that they could come up with. A few examples of the activities include barrier games, and that's when students are separated back to back by a barrier in the middle. One is given a set of complete instructions that they must verbally convey to the other to complete. So that is how well someone can interpret instructions and relay the information that needs to be done for the task. Information sharing. Each student has a part of a task. They must share their information and accomplish the task. Inquiry and elimination. That's done in small group, and that's one student has information that must be obtained by the others through questioning, and elimination by irrelevance. Group decides the solution based upon inquiry. So that's when everyone is asking questions to the card keeper and they're trying to come up with the solution, and the card holder will say, no, that's not close, and they'll eliminate by that, helping to get to the actual right clues. Rank ordering. Students work in small groups to suggest solutions to a problem and reach a consensus as they rank the usefulness of each solution. So in conclusion to communication games, they can be used at many ages and many grade levels for different subjects throughout. Providing students with hands-on, authentic reasons to communicate in English gives them an opportunity to practice English skills in low-stress environment. So this is giving the kids hands-on, fun practice in the classroom around their peers. So it's not like they're in front of their counselors and their administrators to feel the pressure. This is just a hands-on way to get them involved without them really knowing that they're learning and or being assessed. Our next strategy is strategy number 25, RTI for English language learners, documenting and monitoring student progress and the effectiveness of intervention. RTI is an instructional delivery model that is designed to ensure early identification of at-risk learners and the provision of appropriate services for those learners. So, RTI strategies support teachers in documenting, analyzing, and adjusting instructions to ensure that English language learners are supported in English knowledge. So that's saying that if we have a child come over from another country, that RTI is the time and the strategy and the place to get them adjusted and to get them the instructional knowledge that everyone else is getting, but with a little more hands-on, one-on-one small group help to get them there, because obviously they don't know English. The specific purpose of RTI is to ensure that students are provided the differentiated instruction needed to avoid placing students in exceptional educational programs. There are 3 tiers to RTI. Tier 1, which is general education classroom that students receive. So that's just general that all students get every day is Tier 1. So it's no individual help at all. Tier 2 provides qualified students with interventions that supplement the core curriculum in classroom practice. So it's a little bit more hands-on. Tier 3 is more intensive, individualized interventions and may or may not include disabled students. Different schools and districts require different documentation of formal RTI process, but all teachers of English language learners must document the assessment, accommodations, modifications, and interventions that are administered to ELLs. So that this is really important for teachers to remember that they are documenting step by step what they are administrating to these ELLs so that we can see their growth and their change over a certain amount of time. Usually it's done in the beginning, middle, and end. And we have a similar process for English speakers, which is MAPS testing, and that's the same concept. It documents their growth over a time period, but this is more hands-on for English language learners specifically. Accommodations are additional help given to a student in general education classroom to support success. Modifications are adjusting the expectations for a student in general education classrooms. Interventions are providing a research-based approach to support success in a core curriculum class or special class. One key element of RTI is assessment to measure student progress and employing the results to inform the type of instruction needed. It is also used to direct the focus of instruction in the classroom. So like I said before, it's to measure student progress. And that's the biggest part of it. That's why we do intervention, and that's why we do accommodations, is that so we can see the progress once we do these things. And eventually they will be caught up in the general classroom with all the other students. But it's to see how we need to focus the instruction during the class lecture time. Forms of assessment include end-of-unit assessment, leveled running records, spelling tests, anecdotal records documenting specific behaviors. Another key element to RTI is parent involvement. Parents should be involved with key decisions and kept apprised of the accommodations, modifications, and interventions being done with their child. If parents are not involved in the classroom with their teachers and their students and what's being done, then they're not going to be able to help at home with specific reminders and specific instructions for homework and things like that. And so parents need to be involved. In conclusion, although RTI was instructed to make sure all students receive differentiated instruction to support their success in the general education program before being referred for exceptional education programs, the process is extremely helpful in supporting English language learners as well. Thank you.